everybody. I am Dr. Cindy, your host of the Positively Altered podcast. I am a chiropractic internist and nutritionist. And here on the podcast, we love to discuss all things health related, physical, spiritual, emotional, financial. You pick it. If it's related to health, we want to talk about it. And today, as always, is no exception to our rule. Our guest is just a ray of sunshine, and I mean that literally. And she has spent so much time outdoors overcoming tasks that most of us would never even consider doing. She's had some health journeys and other things along the way that have really taught her how to do exactly what she preaches on stage. And preach isn't a fair word because it's all about education, but she talks about resilience in a way that's very different and has a brand new book that has been out this year, helping people and corporations make that difference in the resilience space. So go grab something to eat or drink and take a sit back, listen to our sponsors who are really important to us, and then come right back so that I can introduce you to our next guest and how she overcame any objection and became resilient.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? Thank you so much for coming back after the break, because you know our sponsors are really important to us here on the Positively Altered podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today because I'm pretty sure we had an entire conversation before we even hit record. So we're going to see where this goes. My guest today, Mandy Gill, all the way from up north, Vancouver, right?
Vancouver, Canada, yes.
Oh my gosh, where it's colder than it is here in Chicago this time of year, which we don't get to say too often.
We had bear poop in our backyard this morning. So
Yeah.
you got the bears walking around. There was a coyote on the run this morning. It's wild, as most would imagine.
When you say that, like that's commonplace that the bears are in the backyard.
The bear poop is in the backyard more than a bear.
It's probably a little safer as long as you're not touching it or walking on it. Okay, fair enough. Let's shift. I don't know that I want to have an entire conversation today about bears, but I do want to talk about famous people. And that's a weird segue, right? From bears to famous people. But your background is in media, correct? Tell me how you got started in the media space.
I was failing miserably in post-secondary, so university, doing my Bachelor of Science, hoping to go into marine biology. And I remember my parents sitting me down. I mean, my parents are divorced, but they were like, "Oh, dear, this is really serious. We need to come together and sit at the kitchen table and have one of those stern conversations." And they were like, "We're getting the letters in the mail and things aren't going the right way." And all of a sudden they were like, "So what do you want to do next? What can we put you in next?" And I was like, broadcasting. And so, yes, long story short, moved across the province from Alberta to British Columbia, started in Vancouver in 2005 in broadcasting school and graduated. And before I even graduated, I was hired by a top 40 radio, or pardon me, it was a rock station at the time. And it was a riot. So radio, television, that just kind of became a lot of my upbringing and my background.
I love this. So we're going to get into resilience and this topic that you speak so passionately about, but really you might not have even realized how resilient you were, I'm guessing, back in the day before teaching other people how to become resilient. Because from marine biology to broadcasting, there's got to be a good shift there in order to be successful, right?
I was very humbled. You're just kind of like, something's not working. And we oftentimes talk about, like, if you don't realize that you need to go a different direction, something will force you.
Right.
And it happened.
It was. So I grew up, this is going to date me. There's been quite a few shows where people can figure out how old I am, and I'm usually very honest about it. But I grew up in that genre of music where Madonna was huge, right?
Yes.
And Madonna was very good at reinventing herself. And I think to this day still probably is. So who is it that you got to spend some time with in your broadcasting experience that was really good at that reinvention, that resilience, that overcoming, and who failed miserably?
Oh, goodness. How long do we have?
As long as you want, Mandy. It depends how much dirt you've got.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm going to start off by saying I probably learned a good piece of my resilience by waking up at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, Monday to Friday, to be in studio, live on air, waking up a city of 3 million people. Monday to Friday. Like, you just, something clicks at that time. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know what coffee was at that point. Now I'm like, how did I not do this without coffee? But by going there, I will say that we had so many fantastic guests that we would bring on air. And there's a lot that stand out. I mean, at that time, like Rihanna was huge. I remember like Pitbull, like you kind of were seeing Jordan Sparks, like at that time. Lady Gaga was up and coming. Of course, Just Dance had come out in 2008 with Akon. And I'm really grateful to have had those opportunities. And I got to witness, I tell this story about Lady Gaga, how she came in with like the rhinestone glasses and, the big cane, and she's walking down the hallway and everyone's kind of like, what in the world is happening here? But we see her as she is today, and she is probably one of the most incredibly resilient individuals that I've ever met. You spoke about Madonna and reinvention. Lady Gaga to me is incredible. Like, she is the master of that, along with Madonna, because I just remember she literally performed in front of 22 of us in a pub where like the carpet smelt like booze. Like, and it was not even in Vancouver. Like, it was 45 minutes out of the city, to the point where like, you only go into those outskirts, and it was like a Tuesday night or whatever it was. It wasn't even a Friday, but there was 22 of us in there. She performed identical that night as she does now, as you would see at the Grammys, the Oscars, whatever it might be. So it's been really beautiful to just kind of like think back to some of those experiences. Now I'm trying to also think of somebody who really dropped the ball.
That's the dirt we're really looking for, Mandy.
Oh my goodness. Oh geez. Okay. I might come back to that by the end of this podcast. That's not a hook for those listening. Okay. It's just the ability to be creative and think, I want to make this good, and I'm sure there's a couple I'm going to come up with.
Okay. We're going to let that sit for a little bit. It makes me think of a really interesting question I want to dive into with you. And that is, I think there's this perception of those of us, whether we're as famous as Lady Gaga, or let's say for those of us that stand on a stage and keynote speak to audiences of various sizes, there's this persona that we put out there of resilience. And at the end of the day, if we really reflect, how hard is it, do you think, in our opinion, to portray that all the time? right? Because
Extremely.
there's a perception, right, that we're great at this. And the reality is we're probably not always as perfect as we encourage everybody to be.
And I think why it becomes something that we're so passionate about is because we've probably failed many times. I'll speak for myself, right? Like, and I look at the word failure as false. Like, I mean, it literally is your first attempt in living, right? Like, if we look at that, like we have to go through those moments where we have to tap in even on a deeper level to what resilience is, because I chat with a therapist most recently in the summer, and she was saying, resilience is really easy when everything's going right. We wouldn't be experts in this field if we didn't hit the other side of what it feels like for things not to be going right and discover what resilience really, really requires and why it is so important as something that we can continue to strengthen.
And why do you think we get so tied up in that word right? Because if something happens to us, and let's not label it, just something happens to us, why is it so hard to perceive that as just the next step on the journey of where we need to get to versus it being the right thing or the wrong thing that happens?
I think it's just, we get these thoughts in our mind, right? Where it's everything's going great, things feel right now. And then all of a sudden it's like this obstacle. And it's right in the middle of what you were hoping to see on the other side that now no longer is possible. And I think it's just that attachment to like what could be, what should be. But really, is that life? Not really. I mean, whatever higher power anyone wants to believe in, I always get reminded, like, if you want to make that higher power laugh, tell them your plan. Right? Like, it's not real. Things are going to happen. And so I appreciate where you're asking this because it is so true. We think that the path is easy. We think that the path is straightforward. We all have seen probably that diagram where it's like, here's the path to actually getting to success. And it's like all the like squiggly lines in a row. And you're like, thank you. I'm not alone. And unless we talk about these things, people think they are alone because they're like, why am I not getting there faster? Why is this so challenging? And I just want to say from my passion within resilience, it's helping people to see, like, I think 80% of the time, I'll revert to an app that I work through with a bunch of clients through. 80% of the time, people want to quit when it's really hard. Mm-hmm. But that's when resilience grows.
Mm-hmm. Right. And isn't there success on that journey at that hard spot? Like, to me, success isn't always the end result, right? There can be levels of success along that squiggly line that we're all over the place in order to get to the goal that sometimes we forget to recognize.
Yeah. And I think that's like a celebratory like piece, right? Like we got to celebrate that. Even if you're not at quote unquote the finish line, you can celebrate the success every step of the way.
Yeah. For me, the finish line is my very last breath. I'm not sure there is a finish line, right? I'm not sure I ever like that there is that. Yeah. So tell me, you mentioned the app. Tell me about this app. I want to hear how this came to be and why it's so important and how it helps people.
Yeah, you're going to have a good laugh here. Speaking of broadcasting, when I got into more of the television side, a lot of listeners from radio in the top 40 side of things had started to call in and create a little bit more of just kind of a realization for me of the things that I was really interested in that I could help people with. And I thank every single one of them for that. And a lot of that feedback was, hey, tell us a little bit more about, what people are capable of, like to achieve their best and whatever best is for them in that moment. And so I started to do television segments, one every week of the year, 52 weeks a year, you know what I mean, for years and years. And they were television segments, national television. And I would help people either through fitness, nutrition, like mindset, those types of things. And people were coming to me as listeners and viewers, and they were saying, can you help me with X? And I was like, no, I can't, because I don't have a resource to do so. But you can watch the segment next week and I can maybe bring this up. And they were like, no, but you need to have a resource for people to go to. And so I created, good old Excel spreadsheets. That was my business, like I was like, oh, you want me to put that Excel spreadsheet, work it backwards for you? No problem. Yeah, it only worked for so long until the point where you have so many Excel spreadsheets that you're like, this isn't resourceful. So 2015, I decided that it was time to put an app together. And I had no idea what even an app really meant, if I'm being very honest. I had a lot of help behind it. And in 2016 came out with Hooked on Healthy Habits. So it is like, it's a private app where we have people that come into it that really want to work specifically on their habit development practices. And so when we work with them, it can be working towards anything like a lifestyle change or, you know, something that they're working towards. Maybe it's like more personal time with their family, or maybe it's like a huge goal where, you know, they want to run the Chicago Marathon, or they want to, like, all of those types of things are things that we help people get out of their own roadblocks. And what I've really noticed is at the core of it all, when I sit back and I think of, you know, it'll be 10 years almost that this has been running and working with over 10,000 clients, resilience is something that stands out to me the most, that helps people get through their moments when they're like, oh yeah, no, actually I don't want this anymore. And I'm like, are you sure? And so we build that resilience in those moments, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad you didn't allow me to quit. I was so close and I wanted to quit. And I've done that before with myself too, right? It's like a form of self-sabotage in a way.
Of course. What's your favorite habit?
Oh, you're going to think I'm so dysfunctional.
Well, we'll analyze it here on the podcast today, Mandy. That's fun.
I love running in the forest in the pitch black at 5:45 in the morning with my 2 dogs, my girlfriends, their dogs, headlamps. Sometimes it's pouring rain. Sometimes it's snowing. It's never bright. Let's just put it that way. But it sets the tone for my day.
Great. So it's how it's the initiation, right, to the mindset.
It is.
For what needs to follow.
Yeah.
Great. What's the hardest thing you've ever overcome? Or a hard thing?
Yeah, you could see my brain go, okay, first one, second one, third one.
You don't have to give it the primary status, but just a hard thing you've overcome.
Yeah, I think I would say recently a health experience that was completely out of what I ever would have expected for myself to happen. And it probably was my first experience of like realizing that, you know, we don't live forever. And I will call out, you know, as we were joking about age, the woman that I've been working with through this, a trauma therapist, in all honesty, which is what my doctors recommended me to, just because it did happen so quickly. She said, Mandy, at the age of 38, you are now experiencing what some people don't experience till like maybe they're in their 70s or 80s or 90s. That like, yeah, we don't have that opportunity to sometimes realize that we don't live forever. Right. And we all know it. It's known, but to see it at that moment was like, oh shoot. And it was very real as one can imagine. Yeah. And so, yeah, it still feels very, it still feels fresh is probably why you hear me being like, blah, 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 blah.
Right. So Mandy, if you're willing, for the sake of, you know, listeners to participate with you, can you unfold what happened and some of the emotions you went through on that journey that you needed to overcome?
Yeah, absolutely. My husband and I were, it was our 3rd miscarriage. And, you know, those are hard enough in themselves. And it had been over the course of like a year and a half. And obviously a wonderful team of doctors were assisting. Everything was good. I was in the recovery phase. And I'm sitting there working probably about a month later after I'd received that news. And everything had, you know, medically been taken care of. And next thing you know, I start to have a bleeding experience that I knew was not normal. And I stood up and I was like, oof, this is very not normal. And we actually were having our house renovated at the moment. And there was gentlemen that were working and putting on our tiles and our floor. And I walked out of the office and they looked at my face and I was like, I gotta go. And I drove myself to the hospital, thankfully 10 blocks down from our house. And I ran, quote unquote, parked illegally, if I'm being very honest, in front of emergency, walked myself in, and immediately they recognized that there was an an extreme emergency. So I had lost 4 liters of blood by the time they were able to get it under control. And we know as women, our bodies are, that's getting towards truly like what our blood volume is. They diagnosed it as what is called a uterine AVM. So there was, a blood supply that had been going to what would have been the fetus that unfortunately had been nicked of some accord. And it didn't heal. And it had actually created what was a balloon on that site. And at any point in time, when I asked the doctors about it, they said it would have happened at any time. And we're just damn lucky that it was 10 blocks away from your house, because I actually knew when I felt that experience in my body, I don't want to speak in a way that I don't think emergency crews could have gotten here that fast, but I knew that I could actually get there faster.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And you listened. You listened.
My gut. My parents are still like, you drove? I'm like, oh yeah, I drove. Yeah.
And what did you walk through, knowing that you teach people about resilience and overcoming?
Oh,
what kicked in for you at that time that you're grateful for? And was there anything, and I hate the word failure, but anything that challenged you where you thought, you know what? It was a great also life lesson in order to not hopefully ever do that again, right? But just for the next challenge that comes up, the learning experience to be better at this.
Yeah, no, I think you asked first about what I'm grateful for, I believe, through my experience. And I don't know if this has anything to do with resilience. However, what I will say is in that moment of extreme shock and scarcity of what was happening so fast, there was a feeling that overcame my body. And all I felt was very calm in a moment of such chaos that was happening around me. And I had like this calmness, and I knew that everybody that I had needed to tell in my life that I loved them, that I did. Mm-hmm. And that to me was like a pretty, I've never experienced that in my life before. And so I think just living life to the fullest in the moments that we can was something that really echoed back to me when I thought of that afterwards, and I could be less emotional about it because I'm saying it in convo right now. But again, there's been some work that's happened behind the scenes to get to this point. And what would I do differently is, it took patience. Mm-hmm. And as you know, I'm going to say, people even listening to this podcast, like I would consider, if you're listening to this, you're a high achiever. You're somebody who likes to be, able to be a high performer as well, even if you don't feel like you're achieving in moments. And it was hard. I probably took the whole summer off. And when you work for yourself, damn, that's hard, long story short, it was the only option I really had to heal. And I surrounded myself with so much love. Our families were here. Our friends were here. There was really not a day that we didn't have ourselves surrounded by love and support. And yeah.
It's beautiful. I share, some of my audience may know part of my story, and there's a lot that probably don't, but my daughter, who's now 23 years old, came to me 10 and a half weeks early through an emergency C-section because I had something called HELP syndrome, which is hemolysis, elevated liver enzymes, and low platelets. And I was basically bleeding to death. And I never felt good through the entire pregnancy. I was sick. And I don't mean sick like, little nausea, tired, mm-hmm. The typical, right?
Yeah.
Really sick, pain, discomfort. Sometimes it was a struggle to get out of bed. And the morning that she was delivered the next morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. But the morning I was having what I had to listen to was a nosebleed for 45 minutes that I couldn't stop. And my blood pressure was 190 over 110. I was laying on my bathroom floor bleeding to death. And when I went to the hospital, and at that point I had called my husband at the time and said, we got to go. And I'm the first one to go, keep me out of the hospital based on the way I practice and the things I do. It is an emergency room because it should be an emergency.
Yeah.
Right. And they had used the words next step was seizures, coma, and death, and transported me to, a different hospital so that the delivery would happen and I could stay with the baby. And long story short, she's 23, she's flying airplanes, she's beautiful.
Yes.
There's a longer story and there's a longer
We know
story.
the good. Yes, but this was so
Good, but
real.
to your point, I stayed in the NICU with her for 7 weeks to the day. I didn't pay a bill. I didn't return a phone call. I didn't see a patient. And not that there aren't consequences to that, but I did what I needed to do to recover both physically and emotionally with a brand new baby as a brand new mom, right? So we get faced with those challenges, and I always say here to complain about them on the other side, right? Like, thank goodness we're here to
Yes.
complain about them. But so many cool gifts came out of that experience, right? And I can see it even on your faces. We're talking like the, the benefit, as weird as that sounds, to those negative perceived events are so truly amazing when we pay attention to them. They can really be life altering.
I get emotional thinking about it. Like I tear up a bit because it truly, like it is life altering. Like when we say the word life changing, life altering. Yeah, I remember there was a couple things like when we just had headed to Europe most recently, and there was a couple things travel wise, and my girlfriends were like, okay, well, maybe get on that and this and that. And I was like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I just had like this utter calmness compared to like before where I'm like, I want to control that. I want to control that. And I just thought it was like checking it off the list. But now I'm like, no, nothing really matters. I've got myself, my husband, we've got our health. We're happy. We've got our 2 dogs. Like, yeah, life changing. So I love to hear and that took a lot for you without question for 7 weeks to not answer a call, not see a patient, not respond to an email. Like, yeah.
It's a choice, right? Of what we need to do to shift into that resilience mode. Right. And it's it really is a beautiful thing. And I think sometimes, and I've had challenges since then. That one's, 23 years ago. But when it comes back up, I'm so grateful, right? For that opportunity. Not that I wish those things on anybody we come into contact with, but it's almost this, I almost love to tell people it's a bring me attitude. Like, bring it. Come on, just bring it. Give it to me.
I got this.
Yeah, because I can do this and I am going to show you and I'm going to learn something and be better for it. Now, I do have to ask you though, because you do so, in my opinion, and this is just my perception, you're going to disagree with me. You do some crazy stuff, right? By choice. So like that story, no choice happened, you took it, you did something great with it, but you're doing things like that you don't actually have to do.
People are like, are you running from the bears?
Like, okay, no. So let's just go there, right? Because like there's pictures of you. Okay, so I have a son who's 21 years old who is hiking the 14s in Colorado. Okay, and I don't mean the trails. Okay. I mean the ice, the picks, the whatever the equipment is. Yeah. And I always joke that I'm like, all right, dude, have fun and send me proof of life. So that's the joke, because I get the proof of life picture when he doesn't plummet to his death. And he's like, it's the most awesome, exhilarating thing on earth. And I think he's absolutely nuts, right? And you're doing stuff like this, Mandy. Why? What drives you to the danger? And where does the passion and the resilience to like do the next bigger, faster, longer run or mountain? Like, I think there's like, I'm glad you got a therapist somewhere somehow. I'm going to recommend you go more regularly. I don't get it.
Okay, it's interesting. I was actually just having a conversation about this right before this. So yes, these are great topics. First of all, I'm going to preface and say that by all means, very open and honest that where this drive and desire came from was in my late teens. I was like I do feel many women, and we're talking more about this, but go through or have gone through is I was going through an eating disorder. And I remember, and it was anorexia in particular. And I remember like the limitations that I was putting on myself, and what I thought this image looked like in order to be loved. And it was like on a magazine and all those kind of things. Anyways, long story short, this came to me like in my early teens. And then I obviously thought it, even though like such a loving family that I grew up with, mom, dad, stepdad, sister, like great communicators, but still I had that vision. And when I came out of it on the other side and realized what our body is capable of doing when we fuel ourselves properly with, food, love, care, all of those kinds of things, obviously scared, hope I can say this word, the shit out of my parents when they started being like, oh dear, we're really glad she's better, but what is this? Kind of like truly your son, like send us the survival photo. then I kind of was like, oh, this is really neat. And so my love for just kind of like, I want to say the word like exploring, truthfully, to me, it's like, and it's an adventure. I will give you the example because, you probably will bring it up, but it does sound extreme, but this was where the conversation came that I was just having was, 125-kilometer race. So just like over 80 miles, I suppose, in Slovenia 2 weeks ago, and 7,000 meters of elevation, 7,000 meters of descent. So that's in like what, the 2,300 or 23,000 feet, both ways. And you're going to think I'm dysfunctional for saying both of these things, but I never would have had that experience if it wasn't for the aid stations that were in the middle. Like there is such a love for exploring a country, for exploring a spot that I would likely never see unless I had these support ways. And I look at it and I'm like, I love to think, yes, climbing in Nepal, all of these types of things, none of this happens without support. None of this happens without preparation. There is a lot that I do, obviously, athletically that helps to prepare my body, but there's so much from like a mental mindset. Like when you get into uncomfortable, you're just there. And it's kind of neat, the things that go through your head where you're like, oh, that's what happens. Okay. I want to go this way, like in terms of like, do I want to quit? Or like, why does this annoy me so much? And so I feel like for me, it's just like a constant learning experience about my own body, about my own mind. And truthfully, the way that I handle challenges, no matter what comes my way, I like to think that it helps complement other areas than just adventure.
No, it's so great. I think of, so like, I'm not signing up. I will not ever do any of those activities with you, no matter how much you beg or encourage resilience. But I do think, but I can separate that, right? So I think about my son who's doing it where he doesn't go alone, right? And they've actually encountered, he tells me this crazy story where they actually found a young man who was stuck at the top of the mountain, I think for a couple of days with no water, and again, they helped him, right? They helped give him the water and get him rescued, and he's fine. Well, physically, we think he's fine. Who knows if he did the work mentally, right? In order to learn the lesson and recover. But I look back to my own experience because I'm an ex-power lifter, and yet I won't run, but I put some ridiculous weight on a bar that could have crushed my chest. And I was relying on the person who spotted me to help, in those times of trouble. So I love that you brought up the idea of challenging yourself, but not doing it alone.
No,
right?
No.
There has to be some sort of aid, support, confidence builder, recovery therapist, whatever, right? Whatever it is.
And I call it like a support system, right? Like we look at like our professional support system, our personal support system. I think it's so important for people to even have mentors. I say to people like, you might not ever meet them, but send them an email, see if they respond. Like I've put some weird emails out to like people that I'm like, you're a mentor to me. And like, hey, you know what? You might just hear back. And if you do, great. But here's the thing is you're spot on. Like the race that I just did in Slovenia, was with my husband. And it sounds very, again, the word dysfunctional, but like we ran for 29 hours and 33 minutes. That's how long it took us because of the elevation and descent. But like, I'm like, oh my God, we came out of it and we're both like, we crossed a finish line. But I'm like, oh my goodness, we also spent that amount of time together and we still love each other just as much. Like
that is resilience, Mandy. That right there, I think.
If we didn't go through enough this year, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's the true heart of the story right there. It has nothing to do with the country or the mileage. It's the fact that the two of you still actually speak to each other post that event.
We held hands going across the finish line. Like, who are we? We must have been delusional. Seriously.
But there's so much beauty in delusion.
And it was helpful. Let me tell you.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. So what's the next challenge you're going to put out? Do you have one?
No, you know what? I'm about 2 weeks after it. And it's cute. My girlfriends have been asking too. And I'm like, I'm excited to be home for like a little bit of the season. But I'll come back to you with that because my gosh, there'll be something I invite you for. And you're just going to say, I'm going to offer my son to come with you guys. And
he's like, I said, where do you want to go on spring break? And he's like, I think Chile, there's a mountain. I'm like, all right. I'm done having the conversation. Again, proof of life when you get back after the 10 days.
Yeah. Photo.
Pack some dried food and a rope. good shoes, extra pair of
There
socks.
you go.
Leave the underwear at home, space save, because you don't need that. The extra pair of socks, you need that.
It takes up weight.
Right?
It really does. Yeah. And do you need it unless you're chafing? Probably not.
Well, and there's stuff for that too that you can pack in the bag, right?
There is,
underwear.
Nowadays.
that was I'm not sure it was good advice, but that was my best advice. I'm telling you, I have 3 kids that do all kinds of dangerous stuff. So I don't know. I'm not sure what my challenge is either. I know it won't be what they're doing, but you know what? When it's supposed to show up, it will. Right.
It will. And I believe that trust piece, right? And it's
absolutely
in time.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Before we take a commercial break, I do want to talk about the book though, because you have this amazing book with your beautiful picture on the front of it. What was the inspiration behind actually publishing the words?
I came back from Nepal and you won't be surprised. I was climbing the most technical mountain. Everest is the highest and Ama Dablam is the most technical, and I failed. I didn't get to the top, and I'm really open and honest about it in keynotes. There's so many incredible mountaineers that get up on the stage and like, this is a story about climbing to the top of the mountain. And I'm like, guys, this is everything, but this is what I learned along the way that I would have, used as my tools had I have thought of them, or here's what I want to be able to give to you when it's not having to do with any kind of summit, but it's just an everyday life. And so I arrived home from Nepal and I interviewed a bunch of different book publishers and wrote the book in the library for 18 months, a lot of times my head in my hands being like, is anyone ever going to read this? And, January 7th, it came out and it bestseller in business and entrepreneurship. So I'm really grateful for, it landing, to be honest with you. You just put your heart and soul into something. And I talked so personal about my experience and my family and my love for life and, things that I've done wrong and things I wish I had done differently that I hope to help other people. And I'm really grateful.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And I want to make sure I get this right. The name of the book is Reset with Resilience, The Guide to Greatness When Your Goals Go Sideways.
That is it.
And by the way, Mandy, before we take this break, I'm going to tell you something. You went to the mountain.
Oh,
you went to the mountain. It doesn't matter if you sat on the top of it. And most of us don't even make the trip. So I'm impressed just by the fact that you actually took the time and got mentally prepared to take on the challenge. And really, at the end of the day, I think sometimes that's the win. It's not always crossing the finish line.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. I still froze my butt off, right? It was like -30. Like, I'm going to take some credit here.
Well, yeah, -30. My daughter lived in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and I bought her a winter coat rated for -40 degrees. I didn't even know such a thing existed. So again, there are things in your life that I am impressed by that I will never do, but I'm inspired to find my own challenges and my own journeys and continue on that path as a result of the stories you have shared. Mandy, will you hang tight with us for a few minutes? I want to ask you some fun questions just to see where they land.
Oh, I'm sure we'll have fun. Absolutely. I'll hang tight.
We will. Okay. We will be right back. We're going to take a minute with our sponsors who are really important to us. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back with Mandy Gill. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. Welcome back to the Positively Altered podcast with my guest, Mandy Gill. We forgot to mention who the worst guest is that she ever had, and she threw herself under the bus. So
I did.
Here's a quick little blurb on why Mandy was her own worst guest.
This is so ridiculous. When I had a Bernese, I did a television segment with him and I brought him on, and he nearly pooped live on air on television in the studio. So I ran him off to the side to get him down the elevator downstairs. He just had stage fright. It was too many lights.
It's a natural. See, I would have leaned into that, Mandy. Like, here's a healthy bowel movement to relieve the stress that you're feeling, and it's okay if you poop in public if you have to.
I have to say, I don't know if we would have gotten invited back.
Welcome back. We are with Mandy Gill at the Positively Altered podcast, and we have to rename this. I'm going to tell Julie, who's behind the scenes. It's really not the rapid fire questions. It's the not so rapid fire questions, because I don't rattle them off and people think about their answers and then I have to comment for 27 minutes afterwards. So we're going to just ask questions and see where it lands. All right, Mandy, this might be a fun one because I know you've been lots of places, but what is one place on earth you have never seen you would love to go be?
South Africa.
Okay. Anywhere in particular?
No, I just want to, I'm a huge animal lover. And as many summits as I talk about, I want to be amongst that energy of those animals.
What's your favorite animal?
Oh, truthfully, dolphins, which I don't think I'll find there.
Wrong part of the world, Mandy. You know what? We're going to send you a map with the location of where you can see dolphins so that you can reconstruct your next vacation. We're going to help you.
I can figure out a trail map, but I can't figure out where the dolphins are.
All right. I think there are resources that we can dig up to help you with that. We're going to make that our mission today, to get you on track. Yeah. Okay. Or we'll just send you a stuffed dolphin to take with you when you go traveling, and then, you can just pretend.
That works as well.
All right. What is the weirdest food combo that you eat that you love?
Oh gosh. I put very dark chocolate ice cream with like truffles in it mixed with Cocoa Whip, and then I'll throw granola on top and almond butter and probably some berries from out in the garden. And my husband's like, "Are we having dinner tonight?" And I'm like, "What are you having?" So it's very random, but it's like my dessert combo.
See now, okay, that gets me going. Ready? Let's debate this. Who is it that designed the fact that there's dinner and that there's different foods for dessert and there's foods that's breakfast? Like, why can't we have spinach for breakfast and ice cream and milkshakes for lunch? Right? Like, who came up with these? I mean, I'm sure the cereal company probably inspired breakfast cereal foods, but like, why is ice cream not good enough for a meal?
I figure that I'm an adult. I pay a mortgage. I got a car. I've got some things that I've made some good decisions on. I run a business. I try to help people. I try to think I know a lot of things that I try to, research and talk about. And I'm like, I'm going to eat ice cream for dinner. And that sounds like a great idea. And then, when I'm out running at 5:45 the next morning and the girls are like, "Why is your stomach so bad this morning?" And I'm like, "Might have been the ice cream last night."
Okay, so here's what I'm suspicious of. I'm not so sure it's bear poop that's out in the backyard. I think Mandy's using the bears as a cover. I do. Can't prove it, too far away from you. But if I ever make it up into your neck of the woods, I'm gonna source that and send it into the lab.
Oh, you are a brave woman.
Listen, poop is one of my favorite conversations. I love talking about poop.
That's true.
Poop doesn't ever scare me. Yeah, it's interesting. I was on Instagram, which is where I get all my good medical information these days. And I'm just pausing for the laughter because that's not really accurate or true. But there was some influencer, I didn't care enough to really remember who he was, but he was demonstrating the health benefits of an all-natural ice cream versus a not so good for you salad dressing. And he was comparing the ingredients to show that actually, if you were going to make a healthier choice, the all natural ice cream, which again, when we say all natural, I don't think we pull it off a tree in the backyard. But so there's
we don't.
Natural, but the ice cream was actually a better choice than a salad with this particular salad dressing. And he convinced me.
Did he?
Yeah, I do dairy-free ice cream on occasion, but yeah, I thought, well, let's see, salad, ice cream for dinner.
Ice cream.
To your point.
You know what? He's onto something. I still question his data, but we're going to go with it.
Well, it was Instagram approved, Mandy. So there aren't very high expectations to meet the qualifications.
When you hit that post button, it clearly goes through a lot of debates and all those.
Yes, not peer reviewed, double blind, big. Yeah, no, none of that. None of that. All right. If you could switch lives with a cartoon character, who would you switch with?
Oh, this won't surprise you. The Roadrunner.
Oh,
Like, how fun would that be? I could get so much faster to do different things and explore different parts of the world. Like, my legs don't move that fast. I might go long distances, but that would be fun.
the Roadrunner. I would see now again. I'm going to tell you what you're going to see where I spend all my free time, right?
You really are giving it away.
I'm telling you, people are going to be like, somebody who doesn't, really give much credit to Instagram. She sure spends a lot of time there. So there was actually okay. So the next race you do, I'm going to make a recommendation, has to be in Japan because they actually have robotic. It's a robot that you wear around your waist. It connects to your thighs. That actually moves your legs for you. That they claim makes you run faster.
When do I sign up?
I don't know.
I think we need to cut this podcast right now, and I'm going to look for this.
And I'm going to come, and I'm going to coach you from the sidelines and go,
you
Mandy.
Bet you are.
I promise I will have that ice cream recipe for you at the finish line.
That is so thoughtful. And you could actually call yourself my coach.
I will. And then we'll collect a sample for science at the end.
Yes.
And determine the benefits of the robotic Roadrunner run with the truffle berry ice cream.
Yeah.
I see a book in our future.
I think we're going to call it Reset with Resilience and Ice Cream Part 2. I
think we can do it faster than the 18 months in the library. I think in about 45 minutes we can put that down.
Yes. Won't take us long.
If you were to create a new holiday anywhere in the year, what holiday would it be and what would we celebrate?
I feel like June here in Canada has no holiday. And I really don't enjoy that because I always like at least a 3-day weekend, once a month. And so I would create a holiday in June, that is like a stat holiday for everybody, because I think everyone would just be happier in life. And I would suggest people get outside, because that won't surprise you. But just move their bodies, whatever the heck that they want to do, go for a walk, go do anything. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm an animal lover, so immediately I'm going to go to being let's make it something about animals. But I'm going to suggest June. That's as far as I'm going to go, just because I feel like we need a stat in June.
So we're going to pick a day in June, and we're going to rename it Mandy's Movement Monkey Monday. You're going to grab your favorite monkey or animal. You're going to get out your move. It's going to be named after you, Mandy, and it's going to be on a Monday to give you the 3-day holiday. How's that?
Honestly, I'm ready.
Good. It's a Canadian and U.S. holiday. We're going to cross borders.
Yep.
Because I want that holiday too. I'm not sure I'm going to pick the monkey, but we'll negotiate later. And I think it's going to be. We should put in for that. Julie behind the scenes. We're going to apply for that to be an official holiday.
She gave us some thumbs up over there, so that's perfect. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, and we're just weird enough in Illinois to actually approve that. So you never know.
Well, then I might come down to you.
You are welcome. You are welcome anytime, Mandy. Anytime. You just say you're coming, and the door is always open. Mandy Gill, what was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
Getting to know you both. Getting to know you, getting to know Julie more. I get to see the wonderful things. Julie has been in touch for the last year. She knew I was writing the book. Bless her heart. I was like, Julie, I'm so sorry. I can't even keep my eyeballs open. I'm so deep in all of this stuff. And she's like, no problem. I'll come back to you. Just bless her, because she never said, just through the kindness of her own heart was like, yep, no problem. We'll come back. We're going to tee up with you. And then obviously I got to share this conversation with both of you today and really get to know you both. So for everybody listening, I mean, it's so beautiful because I get to do so many of these with the element of getting to really connect with people. You can sense the genuineness in you both. So yeah, listeners are lucky.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. How do we find you? Follow you, like you, listen to you, buy the book, give everybody the information.
I'm actually the guy on Instagram selling ice cream over salad dressing. That's my hidden Instagram channel. No, I'm just kidding. MandyGill.com, website, Instagram is mandygill.dotcom. So mandygill.com. LinkedIn is the exact same. The book's all over Amazon. Yeah, I mean, any of your, Barnes and Noble, that kind of stuff. So yeah, anywhere you get your books is what I should say. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to do this podcast. So thanks so much for welcoming me.
Oh my gosh, it's been our absolute pleasure. For those of you out there that want to learn a little bit more about my community, please check us out at drscindyspeaks.com or send us an email. We love to hear from you at hello@drscindyspeaks.com. You can also find the book Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag, wherever you like your favorite books. And if you don't read, because I know some of you don't read, there is an audio version that I have recorded, so you have no excuse not to get the information. Mandy Gill, I will tell you that one of the favorite things about doing the podcast for me was just your infectious energy. I love the fact that you've got these amazing stories that I know I just barely tapped the surface of, and the fact that you can walk through them, overcome them, find the lessons, and then use that information to teach others how to do the same. And, at the end of the day, that's what life is all about, is to help mentor, lift up other people. And we do it all the time. And I love the fact, it's just great to call you a peer and now a friend, and appreciative of you being on the Positively Altered podcast. I hope that today's conversation and messages have left all of you positively altered.